Today we are going to be using simple forms combined together to create more complex forms and then putting details on them. You will be turning in this page of drawings. So they're not going to be really large drawings, but we're going to sort of develop them as we go. Okay. So first, let's just remember that shapes are two-dimensional. So we have things like, I'm going to do like geometric ones: circle, triangle, square, rectangle. Those are our basic geometric shapes. But there are other kinds of shapes. These are called organic shapes. Organic shapes are things that we find in nature, so they could be any type of, natural object that we find. Okay, those are organic. But what we're going to do is we're going to be combining pretty much geometric shapes together to then become forms, and forms, remember, are three-dimensional. Okay, we're going to start first with a cylinder. So let me focus down here on this, and please follow the steps as we draw along. Okay, so we're going to start with two dots, and they're on a horizontal line. Between those two dots, we're going to connect and create an ellipse. Now, an ellipse, if we drew a line down the middle, would be the same distance above as below. Okay, I'm then going to pull a vertical line from each side, and from the bottom, from here to here, we're going to also pull a curved line. Okay, now let's start to make this more detailed. We're going to come in from the sides here, and now we've anchored it onto a ground line. Let's make this into a cake. So we're going to pull some scalloped lines from the bottom, sort of like an upside down U, and then we're going to do them here as well. And let's put some candles on this cake. Now, if I only put candles at this back row, the whole front side of the cake is empty. So I'm also going to come here and put some candles down here. Okay, each of these we're going to do like an upside, like a teardrop on each one. That'll be our flame. And then to make it look like our flame is lit, we're going to put small little like lines going out, and that'll tell us that our cake is lit. Okay, so that will be number one. And if you drew any guidelines or anything, we're going to erase those. And there's our first drawing. So we started by taking a simple cylinder and then adding some details. So that's drawing number one. All right, let's go to drawing number two. And I'm just going to move down this row. So drawing number two is going to be a cube form. This cube form is going to, please start the way I'm starting. We're going to start with a horizontal line here. Straight. And in the middle, so we've got a longer horizontal line. In the middle, we're going to go for a shorter one. So I'm going to go to the middle of that line, the best of my ability, and I'm going to do a shorter line, putting dots top and bottom. This point is going to connect to here, and this point is going to connect to here. This point connects to here, and this point's going to connect here, and that is the top of our cube. okay, and it needs to look like a squished diamond. If you make this line as big as this line, your cube is going to appear not as foreshortened. So this technique of where we know if we flew above this, we would see a square, right? But when we're looking at it from the side and we're trying to make it look three-dimensional, even though we're on a flat surface, we're trying to make this look three-dimensional, this has to become this foreshortened square, which turns into a diamond, okay? Now, this is the front corner of our box. It is going to be straight up and down, and it is going to feel like it's sitting lower than the sides as we draw it, but it's not. It's just that these points here are higher than this one. So we're going to draw these two lines. They're going to appear shorter than this one. They just don't come down as far. And then the next thing that has to happen is whatever angle this is has to become this angle. So whether we have to extend this down or shorten this one, the most important thing is that this angle gets dragged down here to this angle, and on this side, this angle gets dragged down here to this side. So we're going to draw that angle. Alright, now we're going to make this look like a dice. So let's come on to here, and we're going to pull an X on each one of these sides. That'll help guide our dots. Let's do that lightly so we can get rid of it later. So an X on each side. Now, on the top is going to be our single die. And from the side, a circle is going to foreshorten to that ellipse like we did on our cake. Okay, so this is our foreshortened circle. On these sides, it's not as critical because they are not going back, like we're not seeing them from a top view, we're seeing them from the side. So here we're going to do a dot in the middle, and we'll do a dot here. So we're going to stay on this line. We'll do a dot here, and we'll do a dot here. Okay, so there's our side with 3. And then here we'll do a dot in the middle. And then we'll do 1 on each side, 1 in each quadrant. That'll give us a 5. So we're just like centering them on that X'd line. All right, so now we're going to erase. We can get rid of that line. It'd be easier if I had a smaller eraser, but we'll get rid of that line the best we can. And then let's shade this one. Okay, first let's put it on a ground line so it's anchoring to the ground. And then we're going to lightly shade. So on top, we're going to leave it the lightest. I'm going to try and get rid of, that's most of the smudging anyway. Okay, now, so we're going to say that our light source is up here. Okay, so here's our light source. What happens is, this is the farthest side from the light source. So it's going to get lightly shaded. And I'm going to shade a little bit this way. It's going to end up being sort of like a medium shade. And I'm going to just smudge it with my finger to smooth it. On this side would be the lightest shade. Now once I've smudged this with my finger, I can lightly shade that side. Top is getting the most light. And then we're going to do a cast shadow. A cast shadow is going to extend this line this way and extend this line this way. And then we're going to shade on that angle to show a cast shadow. There's our cube. So that'll be our number 2. Let's go now and do our third one. For our third drawing, we are going to do a stacked cylinder. So for our stacked cylinder, we're going to start at the top with 2 points close together. We'll pull our ellipse. That's our foreshortened circle. So if we were flying above this cylinder, that would look like a circle. And again, we're trying to match above and below. about the same type of arc, and we're going to do a long side and a long side vertical. Now, from these two base lines, whatever this curve is here must be this curve. If we could see through this, we would see that, but we can't. So we're just going to leave that go because we're not going to make it into a solid. It's not going to be a see-through piece of glass. And then from the base here of this straight line, I'm going to go straight out and put a dot. From the base of this straight line, I'm going to go out and put a dot about the same amount. And then we're going to pull an ellipse just like this, but bigger. And this is where these points have to go. So on the front side, it will pull around this, no problem. On the back side, it would wrap, and I'm going to pick up my pencil, be passing behind that cylinder, and then pull down on this side. I'm going to do vertical, vertical, and then I'm going to pull a curve at the bottom. Alright, so I'm going to give this a ground line somewhere up here so we make sure it's staying on our surface. I'm going to put a wick on my candle, so I'm going to just do one with that upside down sort of flame, and I'll give it some light. I'm going to give it a little bit of wax, stripping down the side. These are just like the same as this, but I let them be longer, and I'm going to let some hang out of the side there. Alright, so let's give this one a little bit of shading. To make our cylinder look round, we are going to shade sides. Okay, so we're going to say our light source is still like up from here on this side, so somewhere in here is our light source, okay, just so we know. So to make our cylinder look round, this front edge is the closest to us, so we're going to shade the side here, and then we're going to fade to light, okay, and then we're going to shade the side here, because this is another cylinder it's stacked on, and then we're going to fade to light, so it's going from dark gradually to light. And then I'm going to smudge that with my finger just a little bit to soften it. I'm going to shade just a little bit on this side as this wraps to the back, so just add a little bit of value there. Not as much as here, but we want to show it's rounding and going to the back. And then I'm going to do cast shadow on this. A cast shadow on this would go here. I'm casting shadow from, so I'm angling from this edge down, and from this edge at the bottom, I'm going out on the same like angle that I did here, and I'll stop here, but it's always going to be sort of on that same like angle. And that is our drawing number 3. So we've got now a stack of 2 cylinders. Okay. All right, so we have 1, 2, and 3 at the top of our page. Now we're going to go to the bottom, and we're going to do 4, 5, and 6. So let's start over here. So for number 4, we're going to do a stacked cube. And here's how this is going to go. We're going to kind of make it look like a table. So we're going to start with our line that's here. I'm going to put a point on each end. I'm going to go to the middle, shorter line. I'll put a point here and here. And then I'm going to pull those angled lines to make that top part of my foreshortened square. And I'm going to get rid of this. Well, not with this eraser. Use this one. Okay, so next I'm going to pull short, short, short. And then whatever this angle is here is this angle. Whatever this angle is here is this angle. Okay, straight down in the middle. Sorry, my dogs are going. straight down the middle. I'm going to pull this line longer. I'm going to come in from this side. It's not going to be as long as this, but I'm going to come in from this edge. Come in, pull down, come in, pull down. And then whatever angle this is this. Whatever angle this is this. And I'm going to put a ground line that will anchor it. So now we have a stacked pair of cubes. So let's think about a few other details we're going to add to this. On this side, so let's say I'm going to make this into a table, okay? And actually what I'm going to do up here is I'm going to go up above on this left corner, and I'm going to put an ellipse, because I'm going to draw a cylinder on this table. So I'm going to put an ellipse, a small one, and then I'm going to pull down on this side, down on this side, and then I'm going to erase where it's sitting in front of that line. On the bottom of my cylinder, I'm going to put a curve. I'm going to shade the back of it here. So darker here, then fading to light, a little bit of dark here, darker on this edge, then fading as it comes around. In here, I would actually do darker on this side because it wouldn't be getting the light. So darker in here, and then lighter as it goes to that side. And I'm going to put something in here. I'm going to just put some lines that come out. I'll put some little flowers. I'm going to do mine little spiky flowers. You can put whatever you want in there, but just something coming out of the base. Okay, now I'm also going to shade. So if our light source is here, which is how I drew this base, our light source is here. I'm going to try and keep that consistent as we start, and then you can start changing the light source as we do more. We're going to shade on this side of our table. We're going to shade here on our table. And then where this object, so I'm going to smooth this with my finger, where this object overlaps this, we will have like a overcast or overhang shadow. So this will be darker there. Clean that up. So right here to show the overhang, it'll be a little darker. Right here to show the overhang, a little darker. We're going to cast a shadow from here. So on this angle, so same angle here and here, as best we can. And there's our cast shadow. We're also going to cast a shadow right here from our vase. So on the same angle as this, cast shadow from our vase. And if you want to put something else on that table, you certainly can. That's going to be our drawing number 4 for today. Okay, we're going to do drawing 5, and it's actually going to be 2 short drawings. Okay, so we're going to move over one. And here we're going to be doing a cone, and we're going to do a modified cylinder. So for this one, just a little more, we're going to start with a cone. The cone is just going to be this upside down triangle sort of form, and then this is going to curve at the bottom. If we could see through this, we'd be able to see the backside, but we can't. This is going to be a solid. At the base here, we're going to go out. At the base here, we're going to go out. And we're going to draw an ellipse there. A little more, that one. And then we'll pull that around the back, and it should be going up on the side of our cone. And if we could pull this through here. So here we have a basic sort of witch's hat. Now, we're going to add a little detail. So at the bottom, I'm going to follow this curve to make it look like it has a band going around it. And I'm gonna shade that into dark. If we were going to shade this, we would be coming down on this side of the cone. So we are going to shade this. We're going to go darker on this edge, lighter at the front, and then just a little bit of value on this side. But our light source, again, is going to be up here. So it's going to be definitely darker here. And then we're going to pull a cast shadow from our cone here. It's always on that angle. And that is it for that. Okay, so we're going to do another hat as part of number 5. And for this hat, we're going to do a sort of a collapsing cylinder. So when we draw this, we're going to pull an oval here. So this will be our ellipse. You could draw points if you want, but we're going to draw this ellipse that's here. So point, point, pull top, pull bottom. These should be about the same. And they are. Then we're going to do it sort of like collapse sides. So we're not going to try to be really straight. We're going to allow it to have a little bit of a curve. Allow it to have a little bit of a curve. We'll give it a line or two that'll show us that it's sort of curving and wrinkling in. And then whatever this curve is going to be this curve. And then we're going to go out from the base, out from the base, and we're going to pull an ellipse there. So here would be like the back side of it, and then the front side. And I'm like always sketching lightly. I'm not trying to go too dark all at once. All right, now let's add some details to this one. So to this one, I'm going to add sort of like a, almost like a buckle here. Pull my band around. I'm going to shade this. I'm going to shade this. And then I'm going to put something like, I don't know, like a feather in here. It's just a line. I'm going to put some, you could make these into flowers. Make this into a magic cat or something, but add some kind of detail to it. Alright, now I'm also going to do this. We're going to shade it. So on this side, we're going to shade. We don't want to lose those lines, so we're going to go lightly, and then we're going to fade as we come around. We might do a little bit of shading under where their flowers are sitting, and then we'll do our cast shadow here. Now, there would maybe be a cast shadow here as well, but it'd be slight, so where the hat is sitting on the surface, there might be one, depending on the angle of the, let me put one here too, but depending on the angle of the light, you might see this thing, this cone and this cylinder casting further out than the brim, but we're just going to leave it like that. I'm going to darken this side just a little more, and then fade. So I'm going to darken this, and then fade as well. Okay, so there's our 5, and we're at number 6. So for number 6, we're going to do a cube, and we're going to add some different detail onto it. So let's start first with a horizontal line. Points here and here. Our vertical here. Point here and here. We'll pull angled line here, angled line here, angled here and here, and that gives me that foreshortened square. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it anymore. And then I'm going to do vertical here. Remember, these are going to feel shorter. They're not really shorter because they're sitting up higher. And whatever this angle is here will become this angle. And whatever is, oops, this is going to be more vertical. And then whatever angle this is here will become this angle. And then if you have to shorten or lengthen to match up, more importantly is that the angles are as close of a match as they can be. We're definitely going to put a ground line here, anchoring that. And we're going to make this into a TV. So what we're going to do is anything that's on this surface, we're going to do vertical, vertical. Anything here must angle back, angle back. If you don't angle that back and you do it straight up and down, here's what happens. So let's say I have my form. Don't draw this. I'm just going to show you what we don't want. Here's my cube form. Let's get this going. All right, we'll pull our lines. So we're matching those, and we're matching those. If we don't follow this angle and we go straight, all of a sudden our three-dimensional object that's going back in space becomes flat. So we definitely want to make sure that when we do this, we do not do that. We want to angle back, angle back. We're going to give it some buttons down here along this row. We'll give it, we'll go old school. We'll give it an antenna. So when old Lady Posey was growing up, we had antennas on our TV. So we'll give it an antenna at the top. This would be like probably on this upside down U, and we'll curve it at the bottom. That would be like half of a sphere, and our antennas would stick out of there. Here we might have our plug coming out. And let's do this. On this side, you would have vents, because these things used to get hot. So if we're going to do a vent, we would follow, vents are like holes cut into it to allow the heat to come out. So if you ever have an appliance and it has vents, don't put those vents directly against a wall, because that's how the thing's cooling itself and it'll overheat and burn up. Same thing with your laptop and stuff. Alright, and that is it. So let's shade this. I'm going to shade down this side. This is sort of like medium shading. And I'm going to smooth it with my finger. I'm going to do a cast shadow here. So the same angle here. I'll do our cast shadow. I could shade this side. This. Alright, now let's put something on this TV. I'm going to put my favorite thing to watch on TV. And that is my shows about dogs. You put whatever you want on your TV. And then you're going to submit. So what you'll do is, there's our 6 drawings. I guess 7 if I count that one. There are 6 shaded drawings with detail. We've taken simple forms. We started to shade them and stack them. We could actually, let's do one more thing. Let's shade this cylinder. So we haven't done that. Let's shade the cylinder here. We'll start here, and then we'll fade as we come around. Give it a cast shadow. We're going to do just a little bit here to tell us it's going back in space. This side is definitely more because our light source is up here. And now we have 6 that are all shaded with cast shadows, and you'll photograph and submit.